Welcome to Let's Grow Buffalo, where today we're planting potatoes in a bucket. All right, everybody, so we're talking potatoes here. I'm going to clear the stage a little bit, and I'm going to bring out a russet potato. So this is just a regular potato that I bought at the store. Nothing special about it except one thing we're looking at here are the eyes. So since this was sprayed with a sprout inhibitor, it's not really going to grow the sprouts that you're looking for, like you can see with these other potatoes that I got. The ones that I have are actually seed potatoes. More specifically, Purple Majesty is the breed that I'm looking at. Got this cool purple look to them. So seed potatoes are nice because they actually will grow these sprouts. The standard potato you buy in the store is not going to because of the sprout inhibitor that's sprayed on it, unless you buy organic. So if you did hypothetically buy an organic potato at the store, some of them might have these little guys on there, but a lot of them are going to look like a normal potato initially. You want to keep potatoes stored in a cool, dry place, dark as well. So if you were to leave these upstairs on a windowsill, for example, where it's going to be warmer and there's going to be more sunlight, you're going to start getting these shoots. And this is essentially where the plant is growing from, or that's where you're going to get the tubers. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a look at the potatoes the seed potatoes that I have, and looking at how many plants I can get out of this. I could just plant this whole potato in the ground directly, but I think I can get away with getting a few more plants out of it. So I'm counting maybe 3 or 4 potatoes that I can get out, or plants that I can get out of this. So I'm just cutting it up as safely as I can, trying not to damage any of the shoots. And there's one right there. And yeah, maybe another few that I can cut off here. So basically what you have to do is you have to cut them, and then the potatoes still contain a lot of moisture, so you're going to have to let them sit and dry out a little bit and scab over. That way you'll get the most bang for your buck. They're less likely to contract any kinds of diseases. You can see all the moisture content there as opposed to the one that was already cut up on the top of the screen right here. And the reason that I don't want to plant an entire potato in the ground, or at least in the bucket that I have prepared, is that it can take up a lot of extra space, and there's also an increased chance of rot. So just makes it a little bit easier if I cut it up into the little chunks. Yeah, this one I could maybe get a good 3 potatoes out, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Also, if you do plan on planting this directly in the garden, this is also in the nightshade family. So if you care about disease prevention and you try and rotate your crops, just be careful because it's also in the same family as peppers and tomatoes as well. But I'm just going to be planting these in buckets, so I'm not too concerned about it. So we're outside here, got the buckets ready. This is my plastic potato bucket that I used last year, and this is a fabric pot that I'm trying to use this year. The nice thing about growing it in a bucket is it's really easy to transport if you have a problem, if there's a pest problem. If you need more sunlight, it's easier to pick this up and carry it to where you need it. And typically you can get a bigger yield with less dirt, which is nice. So real quick, the fabric pot, this is going to be my first year trying this out. Seemed like it had a lot of good reviews online when I was looking at it, and it was kind of neat. Comes with this little peekaboo window in case you wanted to actually look at the potatoes themselves or eventually even harvest them. You can just kind of reach in if you see them right there in the soil. So I'm going to give it a try this year, see how it goes. I'm also using the hard plastic bucket, which might end up being easier. Obviously there's less flexibility with this, so the soil's less likely to get disrupted than it is with the fabric pot. So anyway, when you're looking for plastic buckets, this is a 5-gallon bucket. I got it at a restaurant for free. I just asked the owner that I knew, and he's like, yeah, we get these buckets all the time. They order their bulk dressings, and I think one was strawberries, whatever. But what you want to do is if you come across a bucket, look at the bottom and look for the recycling symbol, and in the center if it has a 2, 4, or 5, then ideally that is suitable for growing food in. And typically you can ask if it's food grade, because yeah, you never really know what's potentially leaching into your food. I know BPA has been an issue in the past, and it's been phased out pretty quickly here, but that's not a guarantee with every bucket you come across. Make sure there's no paint that was mixed in it or anything dangerous like that either. So once you have the type of bucket, then we need to talk about how you're going to be growing stuff in here. So potatoes are a root vegetable, or a root crop rather, and the way that they grow essentially on the farm is you dig a deep trench, plop them in, and the leaves start to grow upward, or the potato starts to sprout, and it tries finding its way to the sunlight. Once it gets to that point, we like to go through what's called the hilling process, where essentially you bury it deeper, and that forces, it essentially is a way that it tries to get more potatoes grown in a given space. So here, I know at about 4 inches is about where I want to fill up with dirt to start. And I'm going to plant the potato there, and then I'm going to plant up to about 10 inches, or fill up to about 10 more inches with soil, and then eventually, once I see it start to sprout out of the top of the bucket there, then I'm going to continue to cover the leaves and force them to grow up higher and give me more potatoes. So this Purple Majesty that I was showing off the other day already came with pretty solid sprouts on it. I cut it up into a small segment just a couple days ago, and I let it dry out, so it's kind of scabbed over here. There's obviously not much moisture to it right now. Like I said, this one did have a good head start on sprouting, so I think what I'm going to try and do is plant this at about the 4-inch mark, and then essentially just let this shoot continue to grow upward. If you can see on here, it might be hard to on camera, but there's these little nodules. That's actually where it wants to try and send off shoots where potatoes will actually start growing. Yeah, essentially a bucket like this, you can probably fit 2, maybe 3 of these seed potatoes in. But yeah, if you plant one here, it's going to send down some roots down into the bottom 4 inches that you have, and then the sprouts are going to come up, and then eventually when they hit about that 10-inch mark, you're going to start getting your leaves. And then once they start to grow a little bit up past that point, that's when you want to fill it up with dirt and work it all the way up to the top, because as it goes, yeah, it's going to send off those little sprouts, and that's actually where you're going to get your potatoes. So we do that with 2 of these, like I said, maybe 3 of them, and we'll be good. As for the bucket itself, don't forget you want to drill some holes in the bottom. You don't want that moisture to just sit in there. So yeah, you'll have the holes in the bottom, and then, oh yeah, the soil itself. So potatoes really like acidic soil. So to help out a little bit and make this more acidic, I put peat moss, which is naturally acidic, in with some compost, the aged manure that I have a lot of extra from a family friend, and I'm going to put a little bit of garden soil in there too. Just blend it all together and use that. So hopefully that'll keep the pH where it needs to be. If the pH is too high, if it's too close to being neutral, then it actually puts it at a higher risk for developing certain diseases. But regardless, I'm going to go ahead and get this planted. And there you have it. Got 1 bucket planted, got a few more to go. Don't forget these fabric pots are going to be a little bit more breathable, so you might lose moisture a little bit quicker, so you can either fix that with maybe a little bit more peat moss or just watering a little more frequently. So don't forget, you want to leave this out in the sun. You want to make sure that it can get a good at least 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's grow buffalo. Alright, so I figured I'd give this a quick check before I finished editing the video. And, well, I guess I was a little slow with that because I came out here and found that one of my buckets actually has a few sprouts in it. So let's take a little bit closer look here. So the dead giveaway was that the straw was starting to be pushed up. And when I kind of clear it away here, just to give you a quick peek, you can see these leaves just starting to work their way out. So what you actually want to do is make sure for now that you keep them covered. I dug them out a little bit so you could see. You're going to keep them covered, and when they come out of the top layer here about 6 to 8 inches, what you have to do is hill them up. So I've read some places that use soil and other places that just use more straw and just keep piling it on top. What that's going to do is it's going to signal to the plant that it's not quite out of the ground yet. So this little leaflet right here is going to continue to grow up and up and up, and eventually that'll give you more tubers, more potatoes, which is what we're really looking for. I'm going to do that until the bucket's kind of at its peak. Can't really fill it up anymore, and that should really load this thing up with the stuff we're looking for.